Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm David. Let's talk about The Amazing Race, season 36, episode 2.
It's basically still the same leg.
Yeah.
But first, if you're new to this channel, please click subscribe and give this video a thumbs up.
And you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/nerdtainment. Right. This
We
is
are
the still racing continuation.
Exhausted and hot in Puerto Vallarta.
Oh my God. And the bridges are going to cause people trouble.
The elusive bridges.
The Iguana
Are
bridge.
They there? Where a bridge here, a bridge there, above
Taylor
it,
bridge.
below it.
Where am I?
I don't know who Elizabeth Taylor is, but could you Google it?
So much of that. It's like, yeah, that makes me feel grandpa vibes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we're gonna start off here, headed to Iguana Bridge.
Iguana Bridge. Great. Nobody knows what that is. They do seem to like see signs and stuff that has an image of an iguana and an arrow. So that, the people who find that are lucky enough to get a little bit of a direction. But it is a lot of like seeming to be wandering in circles looking for Iguana Bridge because it's not like very clearly labeled, and it doesn't seem like it's that much of a national landmark that the locals are like, Iguana Bridge, of course, like the Lincoln Memorial or something. It's not that.
No, it's not that. And it also doesn't seem like it's right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Excuse me. It seems like you have to like go down.
It's a trek.
The people around here are like, I don't know, there's bridges over there.
Yeah, right. But it's Rodden. Is it Leticia or Letitia?
You know what?
Phil said Leticia.
He sure did. So maybe
I'm
we
should go with
say
that.
Leticia, yeah.
Rod and Leticia and Team Hawaiian Mint, Ricky and Cesar, are tied. And
they are head of the pack.
They are the head of the pack. And it was like a matter of what, minutes that they arrived at the mat? With,
right.
They were like within 5 minutes of each other at the mat.
For the continuation.
So there's, I would say with Team Hawaiian Mint, a little bit more of a like, we want to beat them for the next leg. Like Rod and Leticia are like, we're good. Like we're at the front of the pack. Like, okay, let's go. Let's keep going. And then Team Hawaiian Mint is like, we gotta pass them.
I think Team NFL was like, do not let them pass us.
Okay.
Though. They were like, we're first and we will stay first.
Yeah.
I think both teams were like, which is great.
Yeah, I love the competitiveness.
They're very strong teams.
Derek and Shalisa are right behind. And as they're going, I mean, we've talked about how they're like a couple of a certain age and whatnot, but I'm watching them, and we talked on the draft too about how like married couples do so well on this show.
Yeah.
I'm watching them and I'm like, this is the relationship of a couple that has been together forever. They know each other so well. They can laugh when the other one gets overly stressed.
Yep.
And know how to manage that.
Yep.
And I'm loving their vibe.
And they can say whatever they need to say to each other and then roll it on off later.
Yeah,
yes.
It's great.
They're going to be able to get a free map, like as they're running by.
Oh, yeah.
A map vendor was like, here you go.
You're obviously lost.
Yeah.
Take this map.
She's like, free? Okay.
Yeah.
So we get our first Detour.
Detour, yes. It's balloon collection or color correction. Which one are we doing, Sarah?
Yeah, I'm going to go right ahead and say we can't do color correction.
We're not. The balloons are also color-coded.
Yes, that's true.
But it's less important, the colors of the balloons.
Right. I think I could say, there's the purple ones. And you'd be like, okay.
But if we're across a strand of flags from each other and you're like, what's next to the pink? I'd be like, I don't know.
I'd be like, where's the difference, David? And you're like, shades to shade.
Yeah. Like, there's no way we would be doing this challenge. And most of the teams struggle with it.
Oh, yes. I would like to know why this was so hard, but everyone's going to struggle. I don't know if you were able to see that this was a very colorful, vibrant episode across the board. All those flags they kept showing, all the balloons, like the whole, and then the skeleton painting. Like this whole episode was very vibrant.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would struggle with color correction.
It was like, look down this strand of flags and tell me the one thing that's different than all the rest of the flags or something.
But honestly, if you say it's called color correction, and you say what's different, I think that seems simple. I'm looking for a different color pattern.
Yeah.
But multiple teams are not going to be able to figure this out.
Figure it out. And at one point, one of the teams was like, there's got to be more than one. There has to be at least 12
Yes.
strands that are different because
Right.
we're removing a strand and then that strand is no longer there and there's got to be a bunch of strands left.
Right.
But
So why is it so hard
why is
for
it
them
so
to find
hard?
one?
Yeah.
And other teams are just leaving.
Yeah.
I would like to know why this was
Maybe
so
it was
hard.
the heat. I don't know.
Right.
But right off the bat, the balloons, Team NFL and Team Hawaiian Mint and Derek and Shalisa are picking the balloons.
Great.
Hawaiian Mint is only grabbing one bundle of balloons at first.
And they decided to go all the way to the end.
Yeah.
And like work backwards.
Yeah.
Whereas you would normally, I think, just grab what's right there and move that way.
Yeah, but they were like, we know where they all are because we saw them along the way. So
I don't know that made a difference, but they obviously have to go back once they realize they didn't each grab.
Yeah, they saw Team NFL with 2 each, and they were like, oh, read the clue again. Okay, we're each supposed to have one. But the balloon challenge seems incredibly easy. It's just about making the trek to each of those locations and grabbing the balloons and turning them in. And then they kind of made a big deal out of it of, oh, you got to walk through these narrow streets and the balloons might pop. And like, that didn't seem to be a problem for most people.
They did pop.
They did pop, but it was like, who cares?
Right. Were you going to penalize them if they were all popped?
Right.
Like, where do you draw the line? Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. Thank you so much,
Thank
TD.
you, TD.
Yes, they were attacking.
Yeah.
David.
I felt attacked. Thank you for recognizing that. So we also see Team Hawaiian Mint and Derek and Shalisa pass each other at some point, and Derek and Shalisa are like, where did you get that? And they're like, no, we're not helping you. And I was like, oh, it feels maybe a little early to be shunning people like that.
It is early, but I love it. Do not help. I am not team help them in the beginning. I am team shut it down. Do not help ever.
No, Sarah, we got to have a conversation about this before we go on the race, because I'm team you help these people when it doesn't really matter. Why are they even asking for help? They're in 3rd place, but I'm going to help you. And then when I really need it, I'm calling in that favor later on in the race.
That is a fair argument right there. Yeah, because at this point, like this very little help is not going to make or break anything.
Right.
But I think Hawaiian Mint is like, we went first.
Oh, and they're cutthroat.
No one can get.
And I love that because they're on my draft team. So I want to see that competitiveness all the way through. As we're like seeing teams do the detour, of course, we see new teams start along the way. So at this point,
the pilots are going to jump in here.
Yeah. And like, double Dutches joining, they're like getting their clue and heading off onto the leg
they're
of the
just
race.
getting their clue.
The hiking girls. Right.
Okay.
They're not making it to the Iguana Bridge clue.
No. I thought, okay, so you're just saying people are getting their clues and starting their day.
They're starting their day.
Yeah.
Yes. But you're right. Juan and Shane, the pilots, jump in and they do balloons as well.
Do the balloons. Yes.
Yes. And then people are starting the roadblock, right?
Okay, yes.
These top teams like really kind of
flew through this.
Yeah, didn't have a hard time.
Everyone else is going to have a hard time. But these top teams are going to lead us to the roadblock, but while everybody else is starting their day. So now who has a skeleton in the closet?
Right.
Well, that is a question for the ages, but
it's really a trick question because this has nothing to do with secrets or anything like that. Somebody's going to be doing makeup and they choose Leticia and Ricky from those 2 teams. And both of them seem to be the right choice because Ricky's like, I did theater and I've done drag and I know makeup. And Leticia, I think, probably knows a lot more about makeup than Rob does.
Yes.
So
they just seem to understand what they're doing. Of course, the other ones are sweating and it's melting off of their face. So it's
very
a little
hot.
tricky. And this is also one of those challenges where you're like, how detailed do I need to be? How, where's the line here of like, get it done versus perfection?
Perfection, exactly.
Then we're going to get what I think is going to be a classic every episode edit of the twins.
Okay.
We had one in the first,
in
the second, where they're like, we're alive, we're twins, we're good, we're having fun, we're on an adventure. You know what? We don't take things too serious. We left our thing over there. Oh, you have that? Oh, he gave it back to us. Oh, we need this. Hold on. I was like, here we are, every episode.
Then we're like, oh, whoops, we need that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, glad we got it.
And off they go.
We also see Danny and Angie, who henceforth I will be referring to as Team Fragile Little Flowers.
Oh,
thank you
Walla
for the comment on the last episode. So Team Fragile Little Flowers is heading off as well, and the firefighter moms. And I gotta say, Team Fragile Little Flowers, Danny says that he is scared of racing this leg on foot. So it's a new fear that we're being introduced to, but that really pays off at the end of this episode, because I feel like he was to be racing this.
I think he was rightfully concerned about his mother.
Yes,
he felt more of a fear for his mom, than maybe for himself. But this is difficult for the parents. It's difficult for everybody, but we
the
really,
in particular,
the
older parents, like the firefighter moms, don't seem to have as much of a problem with it.
No, I would like to talk about my firefighter moms, because I love them. I want them to do well. They're not showing up enough for me at this time, but they did have a cutest little soundbite about one of them's daughter was like, "What, men can be firefighters too?" And I was just like,
I know, that was so great.
This is why I'm so excited to root for them, because I want two female firefighters.
I know,
to, like, kill it.
And when you like normalize these things for children, they're just sort of like, oh, I didn't know that it would be any other way. Women are firefighters.
It should not be a thing.
Yeah. Love it.
Anyway.
So we're back to the roadblock. Ricky is like, oh, I have limited real estate with Cesar's beard, which is like you were talking about. It's like, how perfect do you really need to be? Leticia does do a check, and she gets a bad check. She gets a thumbs down. I was disappointed in the no. On the judge for this.
I don't even think she said anything.
She just sort of was like floating around like a butterfly, and then would give like the gentlest thumbs up or thumbs down. And I'm like, I'm expecting more these days.
Yes.
From a judge.
Be like a violent butterfly.
Yeah.
Be like a.
Yeah, or like you need to like wind up and then give a thumbs down.
Something like that. But she was just kind of like, which is also confusing, because when you're getting this, they're like, oh, more, and it's like not necessarily
it's just sort of
more.
Keep going.
Yeah,
you're not quite there.
So I would rather ain't gonna cut it, something like that.
Exactly. Then we get our final three teams are starting their day. Kishori and Karishma are cousins. Mary and Chris, father-daughter, and then Angela and Vinny are Colorado couple in last place. And I started to get nervous because I am like attentive to the interview setups, because the interview setups happen after they finish the leg of the race. And I'm like, oh, theirs is at night. Not good.
Here's what happened. They started to be at night. And then Kristen Mary's was like midnight.
So they had to do it the next day.
It was a darker shade of night. I was like, oh, that got real dark. That is like deep middle of the night, dark. That's when I got concerned.
Yeah. Yeah. We go back to the balloons. The military pilots are finishing now. So our top four teams from the first leg are now finishing the Detour.
Okay.
And then we're seeing Team Double Dutch get lost. And I saw the preview for this episode while I was watching Survivor. And in the preview, it showed them at the roadblock first, and then realizing they had to go back and do a detour. So I'm like, oh no, this is not good for them. I know they're in trouble. The fact that they're lost right now.
They are severely lost. The bridge, they can't find it. And they are going to ultimately stumble upon a clue box.
Wrong one.
But it is the skeleton face painting. And so we know that is incorrect. There's not a lot of people there at this point for it even to become an issue. So they just sit down to start painting. And they're just going to do it.
It's bad.
Yeah.
They got so severely lost.
Yes.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they're lost. We get a lot happening with now the color correct. Because people are opting to do color correction now. I don't know why anyone in their right mind would opt to do this challenge.
I mean, I would do it if you weren't with me.
Well, the firefighter moms are choosing to do it. The twins are choosing to do it, and Team Fragile Little Flowers. And the twins and Team Fragile Little Flowers are me, because they stand there and they're like, whoa, I don't know about this. Seems really hard. We're going to switch. And I'm like,
I think it was Angie and Danny first, right? Who were like, Angie's like, I don't think I can process this. And I was like, really? This doesn't seem that hard. And they leave. And then the twins are like, what? And I'm like, well, that tracks.
Yeah.
But then, like, what? Chris and Mary are going to come eventually. They don't figure it out. Like, I feel like Sunny and Busy were just powering through.
They were committed. And I do respect that of like, once you commit to one side of a detour, stick with it. We talk about that a lot. Like,
we do.
Switching detours is risky.
It is, but Balloon was like
so easy,
1,000 times faster.
And the twins, they made the right decision. They're physical people. They're going to get all of that stuff done really quickly. They don't need to like, get ahead by doing a puzzle. They'll get ahead by doing the physical stuff. So they like found themselves in the puzzle ones and they were like, no. Like, what's the one where we run to get balloons? And then we'll be done in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So they made the right choice. Team Fragile Little Flowers, like you said, I think they just didn't have the brain power for it. It was too hot. And the mom was like, my brain is literally like melted right now.
Right. But on the other side of that, it's like, we're so hot and tired of literally walking the city. Like, how much have they walked this very hot and humid area?
Mm-hmm.
You want to just like stop and do a memory puzzle. Like you do not want to walk and carry balloons.
Yeah.
But you're going to end up having to, because that's the easier one to do ultimately, even though you're like using up calories again.
Yeah. Now, while these teams are struggling with the detour, Leticia is finishing up the roadblock.
Yes.
She's done with that makeup, and now they are already running to the pit stop at this point in the episode.
Yep. She's
so quick.
Mm-hmm.
And as they're leaving, Derek and Shalise are showing up to the roadblock. So those top 3 teams are really sort of all in the mix together. Derek, I think, had like the most intense sweating yet that we've seen. Like, we didn't see as intense from like Rod and Cesar.
Yeah.
But Derek is like, the makeup is just pouring down his face. And Shalise is like, dude, you got to get it together.
You got to stop sweating, which is a difficult note to take.
You can't implement that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, that takes a good solid 15 minutes to sit here very still, like waving like this before maybe you stop sweating.
Right.
And you don't have time for that.
No, you don't.
The boyfriends are going to also finish up around this time while the law enforcement team is getting started.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've got people running around.
The firefighter moms are at the color strands and they think they found one and they're wrong.
They're wrong. How are you
How are you wrong?
Again, what was this challenge? I need someone to explain it to me.
Well, because part of it, I don't know if this was so much the firefighter moms, but like people were like, am I looking at the words or the patterns or the colors? And it's like, I think it was just the colors.
I mean, go with the title of the challenge.
Correct.
But also, how do you not see that the colors are not different?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is now, sorry, I kind of jumped ahead, but this is now where we're seeing Double Dutch show up to the roadblock.
Okay. Yeah.
And Derek is still sweating,
sure.
and they see people there and they just jump in. Why wouldn't you? Right?
No, yeah.
Like they don't know that this clue box wasn't on Iguana Bridge. No, and
they think this is Iguana Bridge.
They're not stopping like, oh, Derek and Shalise, this is Iguana Bridge, right? Like there's not a moment like that. They just jump in and they start painting.
Yes.
And it's gonna take a minute for them to realize that they have arrived at the wrong place.
Yeah, no, because they're just gonna do it. Which this is what you just do on the race. You're just like focus, right?
Yeah.
We see law enforcement finish face painting.
Yeah.
At some point, the twins are finishing balloons. The cousins, are with the dad and daughter, Chris and Mary. They're gonna start the color flags.
Okay. Yep.
At this point.
Yep.
The girlfriends are now at face painting. I have.
The girlfriends, yes. They do arrive. Yes, that's right.
The twins are then going to get at face painting.
Arrive there. There's a lot of people at face painting.
Okay.
And then Kishori and Karishma show up as well to the face painting.
Okay.
And they have not found. Am I skipping way ahead?
No, I mean, I just have
those notes.
I know. Yes. I just have like a bunch of people finishing balloons, running to balloons. We get all of that. That's fine.
The drama really is when you know, Kishori and Karishma show up.
I will say though, before you get into that, firefighters are going to finish flags.
Finally. Thank God.
Right? Okay. Now our cousins, who are a bit hot-headed, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
they just go.
Yeah.
And they've been running around lost.
Yeah.
So they are here.
They're like, oh my God, finally.
When they hit this
we
blue
found
box.
it.
Yeah.
Woo, boy. Iguana Bridge. Beautiful. Great. We're here. And they, rip open that clue and they just jump right in. And it takes, and then Double Dutch is like, yep, you're in the right place. And it's like, that's the last team you should be asking.
That's the thing is like the cousins are not sure this is right. Yeah. They've been confused. They're here. They'd like to keep going, but they are not sure. So they're like, Double Dutch, this is it, right? And they're like, yep, you're correct.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no. So they get going, but then the pilots run by them.
The military pilots, they come and they finally arrive to the roadblock.
The cousins are going to just like double check.
Well, because I think they're a little bit like, wait a minute, you were 4th place.
Yeah.
Why are you just arriving here?
Yeah, because we've been lost.
And I've never heard Iguana Bridge said so many times between a group of 6 people. But they're like, is this Iguana Bridge? And they're like, no, Iguana Bridge is that way. We had to do the detour
but
first. This is Iguana Bridge. This is not
this
Iguana
is
Bridge? Where's Iguana Bridge?
Did you detour a roadblock? They could not. They were so hyped.
Oh, yeah.
The girls were like, oh.
Because it's a complete shift in your worldview at this point where you're like, wait a minute. This is not Iguana Bridge, and I'm doing something that I shouldn't be doing right now. Like, it takes a lot of questions. It's a very straightforward answer, but they had convinced themselves that they were okay, and they'd finally found Iguana Bridge, and they were on the right track. And now this team is coming in and being like, they're like, balloons? What are you talking about?
To the point that the guys were like, okay, ladies, take a breath. We need to start this task. And then if you would like to keep having a conversation, we'll say Iguana Bridge a few more times.
Sure. Yeah.
But whoa, I think is what the undertone was. Oh, whoa.
Whoa, I'm telling you, you're in the wrong spot. It's your job to figure out where to go.
Yeah, they're like, no, it's like over there.
It's that way. They're like, we were already that way. But they're like, yeah, there was a detour before this roadblock.
Meanwhile, Double Dutch, who's like basically done, is like,
they're
yeah. Right?
Well, they stay for like the cousins are like meltdown and running, and then Double Dutch is like, let's not be rash.
Yeah.
And she's continuing to do the makeup, and he's like, I think we have to go. And she's like, you're right. He takes the wipe and is wiping the makeup off of him. Because there was also the thing with the cousins where they're like, should we just finish this?
Yes.
And then go do? And Karishma's like, we can't do that. Like, we have to do it in order.
Which I was like, she's the one who won't read a clue, but yet she knows the rules.
Correct.
So let's go. Yeah, poor Double Dutch is like, oh my God, we were about to be done.
Yeah.
So they're both gonna like run off and try to find where they're going.
Oh my goodness. So then Derek and Shalisa are finishing up at the roadblock as all of this chaos is happening. And Shalisa gets a check. And to your point earlier of like, how close does this need to be to perfection? It does not need to be close. Shalisa gets a good check, even though it is horrible.
What?
But the judge is like, this man is never going to stop sweating. This is as good as it will get. Beautiful work.
Yeah. When you see that get passed, you're like, there's the answer. Too bad Amber and Vinny didn't see that one. Because poor Amber, she does a fabulous work of art. It's gorgeous.
He could like perform in the Day of the Dead parade.
Vinny's like, can you please call for a check? Can you please? She's like, let me just finish up here.
I just have a few more stitches to put into your cheek here.
Well done. Well done.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so where are we?
Oh my God, people are running around crazy.
We're still on the balloons. Amber and Vinny are still doing the balloons. Chris and Mary are doing the colors. We already kind of talked about that. Karishma and Kishori now arrive and they choose to do the color correction first. I'm like, this team is just, I love them and they're making every wrong decision the entire way. Like, why are they choosing color correct? But what I liked about the cousin strategy with the color correction is, remember, they were like pulling down the line of things. And we just saw the firefighter moms stand down here and look up for so long. And I actually might have been able to do it if we did it that way. Where it's like, pull the line down and match up
Right. Because
each
you'd be able to
flag with
see
each
if
flag.
it's the same or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought they'd be able to figure this out. Like they seem to like go for it, but no, whatever.
Yeah.
So we've got balloons, we've got color
More
flags,
flags,
blah, blah, blah. But let's move on because after you face paint, you've got to go basically to the pit stop. But you're looking for Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton had neighboring houses with a bridge that they would meet to see each other.
They would,
sure.
Well, something about they would escape the paparazzi on this bridge or something.
Okay. Great. I love the story. That's fantastic. But what I love is the twins like running and being like, I don't know Elizabeth Taylor. And he says to the woman, can you Google it? She literally does not Google it. She laughs and says, it's that way.
Yeah.
So first off, it's obviously super famous in this area.
Oh, see, I thought she might have just been like, get away from me. It's that way.
No, it seemed like everybody who asked was like, where does Elizabeth Taylor live? They were like, that way. It's clearly like the thing of this town. It's
actually a landmark, whereas Iguana Bridge is not.
Iguana Bridge, like what?
Yeah.
But it's still, I guess, confusing above the bridge, below the bridge. Like it does seem twisty and turvy to get there.
Yeah.
Is there anything else important here before we just like go to the pit stop?
Well, I know that so many notes. It's a lot of the detour. The detour just took so long for some of these teams. And then at the roadblock, I have Anthony Sweat makes him look like the Joker. He's one of the twins, right? I mean, they had already finished, but it was just like so funny to see people finishing. The hiking girls seemed to have a pretty low key leg. Like there was no drama with them.
Who's the hiking girls? The girlfriends?
The girlfriends. Yeah. Hiking girlfriends.
They
just
fine.
Finished the roadblock. They weren't sweating too much.
Yeah.
We do see Chris and Mary need to rest and like drink some electrolytes.
So, yes.
And we saw Angie struggling a lot too with the heat.
Oh yes, she has to straight lay down.
When she gets, she's so dizzy, she has to lay down and they're like putting a cold compress behind her neck. And I think Danny's still trying to
Danny's like, I can still paint.
Yeah.
I will keep painting then as she's like on the floor.
And like you said, Vinny and Amber's a little too OCD. And Vinny's like, can we just be done with this? And then, Kishori and Karishma are finally arriving again. These teams that
and they have to redo the face.
But yes, we can go to the pit stop, I think.
Well, let's talk about Chris and Mary for a smidge here because they do like straight up have to sit down and take a break. And I think the medic came for both of them, right? I think they came for Chris and I think they came and helped Angie to cool them down. It's clearly, everyone seems very hot, very tired. Way too long of a leg to be the first leg in a very hot town where they were on foot the whole time. Like, I think this was maybe a bit too much of that kind of stuff. Like, let them drive, let them.
And when it's divided into 2 episodes, I was kind of like, wow, why are they so tired? But they had been running.
It's one day.
For the entire day. All of the first episode and now all of this was all in one day.
Not to mention the adrenaline of starting the race. Like maybe if this was middle of the race.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I've got the hang of it.
Yeah.
I really question this being the first leg.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt really bad for Chris, obviously. And I loved Mary's energy. She obviously knows her dad very well.
Yeah.
And is like, this is how we talk. This is what we do. We're going to go as hard as we can, but it's not going to be that fast. We're going to take breaks when we need to.
Yeah.
It's such a juxtaposition to Anna Lee and her dad last season.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Right.
I thought you were going to say Angie and Danny. And I was like, I think Danny's the same way with Angie. He's like, let me take your bag.
Yeah.
And he's carrying her pack. And like the kids this season are taking care of their parents.
Yes. It's a much more like calm support.
Whereas Annalie was like,
where I thought Steve was going to die on some of the episodes. Annalie was going to leave him for dead. She was like, I will win.
I will win this $1 million by myself.
But obviously, they made it very far into the race because they could.
Yeah.
Right? Where we're going to lose Chris and Mary here. Yeah. They just could not keep up.
And the other thing that these early teams just really didn't seem to struggle with finding this Elizabeth Taylor bridge. And these later teams, granted, a lot of them we've already seen have severe directional problems.
Exactly.
But they're like this. We saw that one bridge with like stairs down to underneath it, and it was like a square sort of like underpass. So many teams were like stuck on that bridge, and they're like, do we go under this?
Right.
Where are we? And there's too many bridges in Puerto Vallarta.
There were a lot of bridges, but I do think you have a good point here of like, we have a good chunk of teams who are challenged by finding their way. And we know that this whole season is going to be full of self-drives and self-running around. Like that's just going to be,
there's not a lot of public transportation. Like hop in a cab and say I need to go here, and the cab driver knows where that is and will take you.
Nope,
we're not going to see that.
Of course that'll mess you up sometimes too, but we're going to have a lot of people lost apparently, because that's what it seems like. These top teams, like we know the order is going to mix up a little bit here, but the top teams seem like they're really good and strong. And I'm concerned about the last half.
The back half is like not good. But let's get to the pit stop here. So the front of the pack largely stays the same.
Yes.
Rod and Leticia, they win their trip for 2 to Lisbon.
Yes.
And Ricky and Cesar are second. Team Hawaiian Mint.
That's the same. Derek and Shalisa are going to be third, same as the first leg.
Juan and Shane, the pilots.
Yep.
Same.
Here's where we had our first mix-up. Yvonne and Melissa, our girlfriends, are going to come in 5th here.
Yes.
They moved up a spot.
Yes. And then Team Fragile Little Flowers moved down 1 spot. And he's crying. Of course, though.
Of course he's crying.
Your mom is passing out in the heat. And then you're told that you're team number 6?
Yeah.
They probably were like, we're at the very back of the pack. Oh my god.
They were very worried. And like that's a really good spot for having to like take some breaks and concerned about her having heat stroke. And they're like, you know, she's like, he never quit me, you know. Oh my god, they are so lovely.
I love it.
With each other.
I love it so much. Then 7th, Amber and Vinny, up from last place.
Up 5 spots.
Really good. And I think that's more, I could see them being a team that leaps into the front of the pack at some point.
Right.
Because I feel like that last place was a fluke on leg 1, and they just got turned around. And this is more of an accurate representation of what they're capable of. So I could see them leaping up a few more
Even
spots.
with her like taking more time than necessary to do that beautiful face paint, and they still top 10. Great.
Yep. Good for them. The twins, Anthony and Bailey, are 8th. 9th.
Sunny and Busy, my girls.
Sunny and Busy, your firefighter moms.
Love you.
Makeup all over her teeth.
Did
you
need
notice
you.
that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, just black teeth.
I need you, ladies. I appreciate that you stuck with the color correction to try to figure it out, but we're not always going to be able to just take.
Sometimes you got to cut your losses.
All the time in the world to do something. All right.
Yep. And then the cousins, Kishori and Karishma, who I'm sure are having another just like absolute panic attack.
Yes.
Because they can't get their legs under them yet. I'm like, they need a good night's sleep and they need to reset. Because I believe in them too.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. This was too much of a leg. I need everyone to get some rest, some good food, and let's see how they do with, you know, those brand new nerves like you had at the starting line.
Right.
That those settle down. You've done it. You've slept. Yeah. Now I need to see how
and
they
you're like,
really.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we start the next leg, let's read the clue.
Read the clue.
And let's make sure that we're at the right bridge. I don't know how you can fix the, you know, not finding Iguana Bridge, but like reading the clue, definitely like a good lesson to learn early on.
Yeah, please. Yeah. Stop and ask questions. Yeah. Make sure you're in the right place, whatever it is.
Right.
Do those things.
And then number 11, Team Double Dutch. They just
Michelle and Sean are down 6 places.
Yeah, that's tough for them.
But we knew it was going to happen because they ran around. They went to the wrong place, wasted time face painting. I hope that that's a fluke. Like, I hope
so too. They have such great personalities. Yes. They are so fun. Yeah. I would love to keep them and just have them to watch. And then poor Mary and Chris are last to arrive and they are eliminated. All of those teams, they just Remember on the last leg, Rohan showed up with the sombrero and the bib, and he was eliminated. And now everybody's in those butterfly things and Day of the Dead makeup.
Yeah.
And that's how they're getting eliminated from the Amazing Race.
The producers love it. Will not let someone get eliminated just looking normal. No. This is tough. Like, Mary's already emotional walking up to the mat. They know that they're last. They actually were closer to 11th place than they realized.
Wow.
They thought they were way, way back, but Michelle and Sean, got lost again.
Yeah.
And struggled to get to the mat. So it was actually closer.
Yeah.
But I drafted Chris and Mary. I was hoping that they had it in them, but unfortunately, it was a tough.
The
double
heat
leg.
Really, I think, slowed them down.
Yeah.
And maybe if it wasn't so hot, they could have made it through that first leg and, made it a number of legs this season. But
if it had not been a double leg, they might have had a better shot,
Yeah.
Yeah. Is Team Walla Walla, are they doing recaps? I believe
I did see them doing recaps.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't notice that, but I do think that maybe Ricky and Cesar are doing recaps.
Okay.
I think I saw something on their Instagram about that. So check them. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I could see that. They're super fans too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Very laid back.
Oh, yeah.
Not quite sure where they are.
No.
Most of the time.
But they're going to be able to do everything.
Right.
As long as, I think
they're
I'm not
having
so sure
fun.
about like a really complicated puzzle.
No.
They might get flustered with that, but anything physical, they're going to be able to do.
Yeah. And I do think, like, I saw them get, in this episode, they were kind of over asking for directions, over asking for help, especially the one that got his face painted. He was like, I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And I was like, you still have to, like.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. So, I think that they're going to be here for a little while. Do I think they're going to win it? No.
But I could see like maybe 5th place for them.
Right. I think they're going to be fun. I enjoy the little silly edits that the producers are doing.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's good to have their energy. You have a lot of teams or a number of teams who are like super cutthroat.
Yeah.
Both like at the top and at the bottom of the pack. Like there are people like fighting to stay in the race and then fighting to get first place. And they're just kind of like floating in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, cool.
Yeah.
We're here.
Right. You want to ask directions the one time. Take a minute to write it down, get step by step. Look, if someone will show you like the Google Maps on their phone, like it's better to take the 2 minutes to do that than to keep running while someone's like, this way. And then you keep going that way and you're like, wait, this way,
And that is a great point of like asking to see it on someone's phone versus being told. Like, you got to know what kind of a learner you are.
Yeah.
Are you an audio learner or a visual? I would need to see it. If someone's like, go 3 blocks and then take a right and then take a left at the gas station and then you go in a circle and then you're there. I'm lost at the first left. Like, I don't even remember the first direction I just said.
Right.
I have to like see it in order to like, commit it to memory. So
yeah, much better visually.
Ask to look at someone's phone if that's what you need to do, to remember something.
Joseph, they actually did call this a mega leg in the preseason press. Phil was like, we start with a mega leg. I was like, I don't know that I count this as a mega leg.
Yeah.
Okay. It was a continued racing.
Yeah.
But it was too much for, I learned our lesson.
Yeah.
Too much.
But I guess it's not a mega leg because
I didn't think
someone got eliminated in the first episode.
Right. And don't you go boom, like you do double everything before you hit a mat at all? Isn't that a mega leg? I thought you went, roadblock, detour, detour.
And then the mat.
Unless I'm misremembering that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Either way, we've got 2 teams gone.
Yep.
11 teams left. And I'm hopeful that we get a little bit more of a mix up this season.
Yeah.
Even though I am killing it in the draft right now. And I'm
literally don't want to talk about it. I just posted it on Twitter X and it's like absurd.
I said to Sarah, I'm like, I think maybe you shouldn't give points out for the first leg, but I'm not saying that because a lot can change, and I might be like needing these points from these first 2 legs later on in the season.
I hope so, but I am concerned that that's not the case. I'm concerned we know who our top teams are here, because Greg and I are like not in the race at this time.
Yeah.
It's just which one of David's teams is going to win.
I think all 4 of my teams got points in these first 2 legs.
Yes.
Yeah.
All 4 of his teams were in the top 5. Okay.
I got lucky this time.
Rude. Okay.
Now that we didn't have James in the draft.
And then I lost the team. So I'm the only one who has lost a team.
Oh, right. Because nobody picked Maya and Rohan.
They didn't make the
then,
draft.
yeah, Mary and Chris were our first gone. Yeah.
So fingers crossed, you guys. Send prayers, send help for me and Greg on that. You guys in the chat, thank you so much for joining us on Sunday afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you're joining us later, leave us a comment and let us know what you thought about the heat on this leg, this, opening mega leg for a season of The Amazing Race. How do you feel about that? And of course, Chris and Mary's elimination. How much are you going to miss them? Let us know what you think about this episode.
And explain your shirt.
It is from J. Crew. I got it for $25 on sale.
So it's
Forest Hills is something in New York, I believe.
So it's a
but
pretend.
I got it from the internet.
Yeah, it's a pretend Forest Hills.
Yeah.
It's probably from a show or a book.
Something.
Or wherever you'd like it to be.
Yeah. That's it. Whatever you want it to be.
All right, you guys, we will be here same time, same day next week.
We will.
Right. And I spoke with Chris and Mary, obviously, on Thursday, and I will speak with the next eliminated team this Thursday. So watch that, please, as well.
Yes.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.